So let's talk about Gemini and Gemini rising. And so we're definitely going to talk about Mercury changing signs at the end of the week. But first, I want to talk about Mercury joining up with Pluto. And I didn't really go into this much with the other signs. It's important. It's super important for Mercury ruled signs. And Mercury and Pluto together, Pluto sort of overtakes Mercury. It gives us this influential way of communicating. Okay. So Pluto's very much about influence. It's very much about power. And Mercury is very much about how do we communicate and articulate our ideas and our worldview and our perspective on things. And this could suggest some sort of, big plunk of information that Geminis get that is around, and this is Monday, so it's not all week, it's really just today and Monday. Some news that comes in around joint finances, maybe a big investor shows up, maybe some news about a big investor that you have in some sort of project. I could see that happening. Mercury and Pluto could also be intimidation. So maybe someone else is intimidating you, or maybe you are intimidating someone with your own powerful ways of communicating. In the 8th house, it does feel loaded. That's a house of, some people believe it's the house of endings because it's the Scorpio house, and Scorpio is all about the death rebirth cycle. I'm more inclined to think of it as resilience, especially with Mercury joining up with Pluto in this way. It may be a moment where you yourself are feeling more resilient as the new year starts to move ahead. You're feeling like this is a time to regenerate in some way. I mean, the Capricorn decan is not super easy for Geminis. It's in a weird angle. So it does require some adjustment. This could be something that comes up the first of the week financially that requires some adjustment on your part. And then Mercury moves into a much more complementary sign by the end of the week. So I'd say whatever it is that comes up, Gemini, I don't think you need to stress about it. I know Geminis tend to overthink things. So I don't want you to go into fear around Mercury with Pluto. I think once we get to the end of the week and Mercury moves into an air sign like yours, you're really able to structure your ideas in a new way. That's Mercury joining up with Saturn and really feeling a lift of optimism, a lift of perspective that's moving into the 9th house for you, really being able to kind of get clear on what it is that you want to maybe achieve or, teach, because the 9th house really has to do with teaching and learning. Maybe it is about a new spiritual practice even. That 9th house is very spiritual, but it could also be, your restlessness getting the better of you as well. Mercury moving into the 9th house does make us long for broader horizons. And so that's something Gemini could be grappling with. I think I said that was also true for Taurus because the Taurus ruler Venus is also in that 9th house coming up. I do want to talk about Mars square Mercury for Geminis because Mercury is such an important planet. Mars having been in that house of goals for 6 months for you, you must have achieved a lot in the last 6 months. And you probably met new people and created new networks with Mars in that 11th house. As Mars moves into the 12th house, Gemini, you may see your energy dim just a little bit because it's in that house that's harder to reach. And it could create some time for rest and recuperation from the last 6 months. Although I find it hard to believe that Gemini is going to really just kind of take a vacation. They're not really the most, they don't like to sit still for very long. Mars is going to square Mercury when we get to Friday. And this is from the 12th to the 9th house. What it feels like is maybe a time of looking at your inner processes, looking at your goals that you've achieved and maybe revisiting what goals you want to achieve this year. It could be a moment of, kind of gathering yourself, using that Saturn Mercury conjunction to get a clearer picture of the year ahead, just pausing long enough to really see where you want to go from here. That kind of feels what it looks like. It does mean that you slow down, though. The square aspect, although it's motivating, it does require a blockage. It's like a pause. It's, a perpendicular angle. It's a 90-degree angle. There's something that's asking you to stop and consider and then move forward with new information. So that may be what it is for you, Geminis. You're just needing to stop and consider what you've done so far before you push ahead, like super hardcore. So Stephanie's asked me, does this apply to Gemini moon too? She's feeling this energy of goals achieved and overabundance of ideas to the point where you're losing focus. That's a very good question. Gemini moons are also going to be affected by this. Any personal planet really that you have in Gemini is going to be affected by this Mars Mercury square. So yes, I would say you want to consider where in your chart this Mercury square, where in your chart you have Gemini, and then you would say that's where this Mercury Mars square is going to activate, because Mercury is the ruler of the Gemini in your chart, whether it's your sun, your rising, or your moon, or it's your natal Mercury, or it's your midheaven. So this is what I look at when I'm looking at readings, and we want to kind of take apart what's going on in any area of life. We look at the planet that rules it. So what else do I want to say about that? Okay, so Venus moves into Capricorn. Capricorn is not as fun for you as Sagittarius, where Venus has been for the last few weeks. It does require some focus on intimacy. And it does require some focus on joint resources. So money that you and your partner earn together, whether that's a business partner or a romantic partner, it's some sort of long-term commitment that is being looked at in a financial realm. That Venus moves into Capricorn on Friday, and it stays there for about 3 weeks. Let's see, until first week of February. So it's a good time for you to look at your finances that you share with other people. I mean, this is the time where we start to consider the tax return thing. I know I've mentioned that before. I do think of the 8th house as taxes, any government funds. The other thing Venus moving into that 8th house could suggest for Gemini is a loan, that maybe your loan that you applied for that's been waylaid in some way, it finally arrives. Any government assistance, that kind of money could come in with that Venus moving into the 8th house.